Commission, you'll make sure that you have written copies of that testimony, so the zoning commission has the written copy as well as your verbal testimony. And that written copy can be much more comprehensive and lengthy than your verbal testimony is. You can submit as much written testimony as you want.
What's the time limit on those testimony?
There really isn't. Yeah, you don't have to submit in advance. Obviously, if you get it to them in advance, they get a chance to look at it before the hearing, which is great. And then same as after. And in fact, sometimes the zoning commission will actually ask for specific information from parties. So they're asking you to submit information after the hearing.
Can I just clarify? I meant 1 minute, 2 minutes, 3 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't get it. I'm sorry, totally misread. For an individual, individuals are granted 3 minutes in front of the zoning commission. A party, or sorry, an organization is granted 5 minutes. And a party, as I said, if you're a party in opposition, the parties in opposition divvy up the time, which is usually equivalent to the time that the applicant took to do their presentation. It's usually about an hour.
Sir,
yes.
Now, the gentleman sitting in front of you, did you have a question earlier?
Yeah,
Wait, or you want to ask it now?
it was about the process. It was not about the process.
Okay, well, let me recognize the gentleman behind you, because I think he has a question directly related.
Yes, what you were saying is it has to be something that personally affects you. But what if, like,
No.
okay, so it's just something that affects the area too. It'd be a written thing about the area.
But what I kind of meant by that was if you or anybody requested individual party status because of impacts on the neighborhood, you probably would be denied because the zoning commission would expect the ANC, community groups, and other kind of broader parties to represent those interests.
Okay.
However, you and other people could be a group that's requesting party status as directly impacted residents of the neighborhood, and it would be up to the zoning commission to decide whether or not they would grant that. An individual who lives right next door to a PUD, if they requested party status, they'd probably get it. An individual who lives 3 blocks away would be less likely to get it unless they could show that there's something about that PUD that impacts me as an individual more than everybody else. That's the standard.
Silverstein? Let me recognize you.
Just one quick question. Do you have a defined impact area?
No.
Then we move on to the
Sure. And I expect there's going to be lots of questions about this, so if I go through it a little quickly, forgive me, that's give you the extra time for questions. Somebody previously mentioned Chapter 24 of the zoning regulations. It's important to take a look at that. It spells out to some extent what the benefits and amenities whole process kind of is. As we stated before, they are intended to be, the term that's usually used is commensurate with the flexibility that the applicant is getting through the PUD. So typically, the more height, the more density, the more relief from the parking from the zoning regulations that is being considered through the PUD, the broader, more comprehensive the benefits and amenity packages is intended to be. But it is, and I can't stress this enough, whether we like it or not, it is a proffer by the applicant. In theory, an applicant could come in and say, I'm not proffering any amenities at all. And that won't automatically kick their application out. What it would do is make it pretty difficult for the zoning commission to approve it. But it is a proffer of the applicant. It's not something that the zoning commission can dictate, or that the ANC can dictate, or that I can dictate, or the Office of PUD can dictate. It's something proffered by the applicant, and in the end, it's something that the zoning commission will accept or not, or will accept with conditions, as somebody else mentioned. It's also important to note that the amenities and the benefits that are approved by the zoning commission may be ones that are directly for the immediate neighborhood. It may be, or they may be broader. They may be for the ward or for the entire district, or it may be a combination of all of those. And the example I like to bring up, somebody else I think mentioned already, is in a PUD that offers housing, if they offer affordable housing. That's often, I don't know if it will be in this neighborhood, but in some neighborhoods, that's not considered a neighborhood of benefit. We've had neighborhoods say, that's all very nice, the applicant should do it, but that's not a benefit to our neighborhood. We would still consider that a benefit because it's a benefit to the district as a whole, and we actually do consider it a benefit to the neighborhood as well. But in the end, that would be up to the zoning commission. But I just bring that up as an example of something that there actually may be disagreement on whether or not it's a benefit to the neighborhood and therefore should be amended or not. It doesn't have to be. There's a list that follows on page 3 of things that a benefits amendments package can include. These are basically right from the zoning regulations. So it's just examples. A benefits amendments package doesn't have to include all of these, doesn't have to include any of these. It could include other things if the zoning commission thinks those other things are what's appropriate for that PUD. Once again, it's evaluated in the end by the zoning commission. They'll take the input from Office of Planning, from the ANC, other community groups, and from the community, as well as from the applicant, and they'll decide whether or not they feel it's an appropriate package or not. And then once again, we kind of talked about enforcement a little bit. That's the last point. If a PUD is approved, then that PUD has amenities and benefits, they tend to be enforced by the CRA because that tends to be the agency that will directly do it. Probably haven't even got close to addressing the questions you got, but I'm going to stop there and let those questions come up. Yes.
All right, let's go to the round of commissioners. Commissioner Lanning?
Actually, I want to go back on the parties issue if I could. I know in the district, I believe I've seen 2 locations, one on Massachusetts Avenue, I think another on 14th Street, where the developer had to build out around like a row house where the owner refused to move, if I'm not mistaken. And clearly so there's there, I think there's another location. I guess, I know there's been discussions about traffic noise related to certain developments, right? And, or even just other examples is with height and the impact it have on neighbors. I mean, going back, they have party status, but I mean, where is that heard within the zoning commission? Obviously, they can testify, but just like those homeowners that, let's use the one on Mass Ave, force them to reconfigure, redesign, probably delay the project, but yet, the individual has property rights, right? If you look across the street, you know, that's where developers' arms stop swinging, your nose starts, and they don't affect your property rights, but it has a tremendous impact upon your quality of life. And getting a small percentage, obviously it's going to be a very small percentage of the community. How does the zoning commission weigh that in terms of impact on quality?
I'm kind of hearing 2 questions there. One is in terms of whether or not to grant you party status, and that would be a major issue. If you convince the zoning commission that your quality of life somehow, whether it's light or air or economic or whatever it is uniquely impacted, then you'd have strong grounds for being granted party status. The second part of that is how they evaluate the PUD itself, given those concerns. And you know, again, the zoning commission would weigh all of the information that comes in, including information from people who feel that they are impacted by the PUD, and decide whether or not this PUD is superior to a by right project, and whether the PUD is warranted. I should just note that, just so people know, that project on Massachusetts Avenue, that was by right. It didn't go through a PUD. And if it had gone through a PUD, I'm sure the issue of that one little leftover property in the middle, I think it's a pizza place now, would be very much part of the discussion. And if that person had requested party status, they definitely would have gotten it.
A couple questions. How do you find out about historical amenities packages, and specifically thinking about the Meridian? I believe that they have the same kind of thing that you were talking about
the orders are there, and the orders include, well, I will caveat that in a second. The orders are there, and they include a list of all of the amenities and any condition attached to that amenity. So for example, if at the time the zoning commission considered the park as an amenity, I don't know the project, but if they considered the park as an amenity, and the fact that it be open to the public for certain hours, that would be written right into the order. If that's not being adhered to, you could contact the Office of Zoning, who has a PUD enforcement officer, and ask them to help you with the process of getting that rectified.
Great. And that goes right to my second question.
Well, sorry, my one caveat on that is that the orders, don't go back to the beginning of time. The Office of Zoning is doing a good job of getting old orders up there, but they aren't always there. If you don't find it online, you can go to the Office of Zoning and they can pull out a paper copy of it.
5 years ago.
That would definitely be on.
Yeah. And can we, or would you recommend, if you've seen, specifying within our recommendations with the amenities, who has jurisdiction for long-term enforcement? Because here, you said such as PCRA, and there are some things that have labor, yeah, but it's not PCRA, if it's labor, it could be, something else. Yeah, should we specify, my question is specifically, should we specify what we recommend as the jurisdiction?
I don't think it would hurt.